The Matthew West, contemporary Christian musician, has written a praise song called Forgiveness. And I really liked some of the lyrics to this song because I think they really get at the heart of what it means to forgive and to be reconciled. Listen as I read some of the words to the song. It's the hardest thing to give away and the last thing on your mind today. It always goes to those who don't deserve. It's the opposite of how you feel. When the pain they cause is just too real, takes everything you have to say, the word forgiveness. It flies in the face of all of your pride. It moves away the mad inside. It's always anger's own worst enemy. Even when the jury and the judge say that you've got a right to hold a grudge, it's the whisper in your ear saying, set it free. Forgiveness. Forgiveness clears the bitterness away. It can even set a prisoner free. There is no end to what its power can do. So let it go and be amazed by what you see through eyes of grace. The prisoner that it really frees is you. Forgiveness. Show me how to love the unlovable. Show me how to reach the unreachable. Help me now to do the impossible. Forgiveness. Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about sin. And we've described sin as a rupturing or a breaking of an important relationship. We have relationships with the divine, relationships with others, relationships with creation, relationships with ourselves. When we sin, when we have a shortcoming, when we do something that is wrong, then in effect what we do is break or damage or rupture an important relationship in the web of our lives. The only way to repair the web is to seek forgiveness, and through forgiveness, reconciliation and healing. Our scripture today is about forgiveness and love. Jesus was invited to a banquet in the house of Simon, who was a Pharisee. Now, in the day of the first century, in the Middle Ages, during the time of Christ, a banquet was not a private dinner, but it was a public event. It was an opportunity for those gathered around the table to share wit and wisdom. Sometimes they engaged in a contest of riddles to see who could guess the riddle. And everyone came for a banquet. The invited who sat around the table, as well as others who had been uninvited, but came anyway and gathered around the table against the walls or in the courtyard to hear the conversation as a form of entertainment and of being a part of the community. Now, in those days, people ate from a low table or a mat. And so at a banquet, all of those who had been invited would gather around a mat that was filled with food. And then they would lie on their left side with their feet stretched out to the back, eating with their right hand. Let me demonstrate. You can stand up if you can't see me in the back. One of the uninvited was a woman. Luke describes her as a sinner, and most biblical scholars believe that she was most likely a prostitute. The woman has been a sinner for a long time, and prostitution is sinful because of the relationships that are damaged. It damages the relationship that one has with God, because God gave to us sex as a form, a gift to be shared by partners who love and care for one another. Prostitution also damages the relationship with the community, and most importantly, the relationship of the person themselves. So this woman comes, and we don't know all of the context, but we know that she has been speaking with Jesus. She comes and stands behind Jesus and begins to cry. As the tears stream down her face, they fall on Jesus' feet, and she stoops and wipes his feet with her hair. And then she takes an alabaster jar of ointment that she has brought and begins to anoint Jesus' feet. Simon, the host of the evening, sees what the woman is doing. And although he doesn't say anything out loud, he thinks to himself, if this man Jesus were truly a prophet, he would have known who and what kind of woman this is who is touching him. He would know that she is a sinner. In the spirit of the evening festivities, Jesus, who appears to have been able to read Simon's mind, poses a riddle to Simon. He says, a certain creditor had two debtors, one who owed 500 denarii and the other 50. When they could not pay, the creditor canceled the debts of both of them. Now, which of them will love the creditor the most? Simon responds that the debtor who owned the greater debt would love the creditor more. Jesus affirms that Simon has answered correctly. And then Jesus points out three significant differences between Simon and the sinful woman. First, when Jesus arrived at Simon's house, he was offered no water to wash his feet, as was the custom in that culture. And yet the woman has washed and dried Jesus' feet with her hair. Secondly, when Jesus arrived at Simon's house, he was not greeted with a kiss of hospitality. Yet the woman has kissed his feet continually since she walked into the room. And thirdly, Simon has not used oil to anoint Jesus' head, which was an important component of good hospitality. But the woman has anointed his feet with oil. To summarize, Simon has failed miserably at being a good host for Jesus, while the woman has exemplified excellent hospitality. Referring to the woman, Jesus says, this woman's sins were many. They have been forgiven, and she has shown great love. And then Jesus tells the woman again, your sins are forgiven. Jesus' public forgiveness of this woman helps her to begin to repair the damaged relationships in her life. It helps her to begin to be reconciled with God, with her community, with herself. It becomes a way in which she becomes whole. During the season of Lent, it's customary to think of Lent as a sacrificial time, and indeed it is. Most of us have been asked at some point during Lent, well, what did you give up for Lent? So we think of it more as a sacrifice. But what I would like for us to think of is Lent is a time for reconciliation and healing. It's a time for us to remember and to take note of those ways in which we have broken and damaged relationships in our lives. Whether it is our relationship with the divine, or with others, or with creation, or with ourselves. It is a time to seek forgiveness, to be reconciled, and to become healed. As we go through that, let us focus on forgiveness and on being healed in all of our relationships. Amen. Will you stand and join together as we sing?